Okay, oh, it's going. Hey guys, it's Ashton from Ashton Warrior Props, and today, finally, I know it's been a hot minute. Apologize for all the delay. I really wanted this out a month ago, but I was really dead set on making sure this was one of the best foam templates out there for this, because it's very easy, especially with as accessible as 3D printers are nowadays. It's very easy for somebody to just download a file and hit the go button and they're ready to go. But I didn't want a filthy automaton making mine. Little anti-democratic joke there. Seriously, if you're 3D printing it, good on you. Happy for it. I like doing things by hand, knowing that I can do it, and then I go into 3D printing. There's a fart noise for you in the mic. So this is an automaton-free, 100% HD foam Helldiver. It is 100% game accurate. I meticulously spent way too much time on this, to the point of insanity, making sure this was one-to-one to the game. Size, proportions, all the details are exactly there. Everything on this is good, ready to go. So let's get straight into the build. One thing you'll notice right here, right now, it is glossy. It is 100% foam underneath that gloss, but the gloss that's on here is actually a clear urethane that I wanted to try out, so as a instead of Plasti Dip, but we'll get into that in the painting section. In this video, you will find everything you need to build this replica Helldiver's helmet. Before we get started into the build, go over to my website. There is free PDF templates for the helmet. I will eventually be doing the armor as well and posting a tutorial on it. But for now, go ahead and grab the helmet template if you are so inclined. There is a donation button which helps me keep the show going. I try to keep templates either really, really cheap or free as best as I can. But you know, everything is expensive nowadays. But let's get straight into the build. So first things first, we are gonna get straight into it with the paper template. So the paper template is in poster mode. I covered that in the poster tutorial, which you can find wherever Ryan decides to put it. He's in charge, I just work here. Once you've got it downloaded, taped together, and cut out, go ahead and trace everything out on foam. On the paper itself, you will find the on each individual part, you will find the label for what thickness of foam you need to be using. This is largely 4, 6, and 2. Most of the details are 2. Some of the main parts are 4, but most of them are 6. So if you want to grab a couple of rolls of 4, 6, and 2, go ahead and do that. Once you've got everything cut out of the paper, you're ready to go ahead and trace it on the foam. Again, I'm not going to go over too much of that in this video. Oh God, I'm back, baby. I'm not going to go over that too much in this video. Just go ahead and check out the how to read and understand templates tutorial that Ryan posted at some point. So go ahead and cut all the pieces out, and we're going to break this down. Break this down. God, Liam, Sid the Sloth over here.
Yeah, leprosy.
We're going to break this down into the main pieces. We're first going to Ryan, is it in the budget to like highlight this section in red? Blah. So first things first, we're gonna cover the mask. The mask is cut out of 6mm HD foam. We're gonna cover this first faceplate, the centerpiece right here. This is pretty straightforward except for these little inclines right here. Those you're essentially going to cut you're gonna cut a slit in the shape of an L, push it slightly inward, and then tack it on the back like so. The reason we do this is if you look at the model in the game, they kind of divot in. We're just kind of mimicking that with foam here. Next, we're going to mark our center point on the center of the mask. I did this with a notch cutter and then drew a straight line down the center. And we're gonna cut a V groove, or a valley, as some people call it. You're gonna cut one down the side, flip it over, cut it down again. This is going to allow you to get this really nice crease that is not super sharp. Next, what I did is you'll notice that there is a little kind of rounded lip where the nose and the bottom of the faceplate meet. I'm gonna take a stone bit on my Dremel and just round off the top where the bridge of the nose piece meets. And this is gonna give us an intentional seam. I know that most of the time when we do this stuff, we don't want seams. As you can see here, I sanded the crap out of this, siliconed it, and then sanded it some more so that there are no seams on this helmet other than the intended ones. Next, we're gonna talk about the bridge of the nose section. You're going to cut the attached piece at an outward 45-degree angle, turn it over, and then use that as your new attachment point. You're also going to round off the attached point of the bridge there as well to create that seam. Next, we're gonna go over the cheeks on the mask. These are kind of akin to like Boba Fett's cheeks. You're gonna follow the same thing, do an outward 45-degree angle on the outer edge. You're going to then just simply attach that beveled edge to the inside of the mask like so. And it should look something like this. And again, we can clean a lot of this up later once we get to the final part. All right, sorry about that. Camera had to charge, and I wasn't just gonna wait around, so I did go ahead and coat it with black. So next part of the video, we're gonna talk about the vents and the cheeks. So there's parts labeled vent and part labeled cheek. The vent, there are two variations you can do. I'm gonna cover the first one. So the first one, what you do is you cut the piece called vent out. And then what you're gonna do is flip it over, and where it's marked with a blue dashed line, you're gonna do a V-cut similar to what we did on the mask. And you're simply going to fold that in and attach it to the part labeled cheek. And when it glues together, it should look something like this. And you can tell which side it is based on the arch of the cheek panel. So this one should be for the right side. And that cheek panel is just gonna glue in matching the arch on the mask like so. Up next, we're gonna cover the vent covers and forms. It's this little trapezoid looking piece. Just cut it out, bevel the side that touches the mask, and you just simply super glue that in or contact cement it. Sky's the limit, really. I'm not your mom. Next, we're gonna cover the details on the cheeks. So the details on the cheeks are super easy. You're just gonna cut out the little section on the template like so. It's a little rectangle. And you're gonna trace the rectangle as a solid onto a piece of 4mm HD foam, trace it, and then you're gonna cut all sides at an inward 45-degree angle, so an undercut. Once you've done that, you're going to cut the middle out, and it should give you a rectangle that's got kind of like a raised, like a beveled edge.
Liam forgot to mention some of the details that are inside of these cheek components, and when I said, Liam, where are the clips talking about the details, he just looked at me and said,
"It ought to be here, but it isn't."
These details are just 2mm foam that are inset inside of that little square, and you can reference the photo that you're seeing right now for what they look like. Okay, that's it, bye.
The details, everybody, I've seen 1,000 people do these and they all change, so kind of pick what reference you want. I always get pictures from the game and whatever, and I print them out to have on hand. Once you've got that, we're gonna go over to the back side of the helmet. The back side of the helmet being all of these fun details. I think the gloss is gonna make that incredibly stupid hard to see on camera. We're gonna start with this lower back piece right here, and similar to the mask, there are these little cutouts right here. You're just going to cut all but the back side and then push it in and tack the corners like so. Once that's done, we do have this top back piece right here. And I don't think I actually got a clip, but what you're gonna do is actually cut one piece out of 4mm and then cut that 2mm raised piece that's got the cutout and glue that on top and bevel your edge that attaches to the bottom. Similar to what we did to the mask as well, I did go along the seams with a round Dremel bit just to kind of make sure there was a nice seam at the joint there, but should look something like that, especially once you've got the rounded edges. Up next, we're gonna do the little circle on the back, and what I did for this is just simply cut out a circle and took a hole punch that I made and just kind of swiveled them around where those circles are and then heated it up with a heat gun. I'm then gonna take the hollow circle that's here on the very center, and I'm going to cover that with a piece of 2mm HD foam, and this is just there to kind of give it depth, like so. Then comes these little triangle dowels that I made. They're super easy to make. It's the reverse process of cutting a valley. So I used 4mm, I cut 145, turned it around, cut down the other, and that just got super glued around the circle like so. Once you've got that, you should have a small lip. Use that lip as your glue piece to kind of tack on to the back of the helmet. Next, we're gonna cover this visor bill thing. So there is a form, and first you're gonna cut the form out of 4 or 6mm HD foam. I think I did 4 for this. And then what you're gonna do is then attach the front kind of like eyebrow piece right here, and that's just gonna get contact adhesived on. Apologize for my framing on this. I was too focused on trying to make sure it came out seamless. And then next we're gonna do this kind of bumpy top part right up here. Super simple, super easy to do. Now we're on to the dome. The dome, as per most of my tutorials, I like to do in sections of 1, 1, 4, 3, 5, you know. You can kind of do it however you want, really. It all really just comes down to what is easiest for you. But once you've got all of your dome pieces cut out, I like to start with pieces 1 and 1. Go ahead and glue those together. I'm gonna do 4 and 3. And then finally 2 onto the 3 and 4. Once it's fully assembled, before I do anything else, I don't have a clip, but I take it over to the belt sander and I do something like 800 grit. The reason that like a lot of my stuff you can't see the seams on is largely because I take this extra step. I hit it on the belt sander, just rocking back and forth on the dome. And then I come over with my multi-tool and take it up to, again, 800 to 1000. And I just go berserk on it until I don't see seams. You're still gonna see pencil lines or like some where the glue is set in there and it builds up dust, but feel it until it's smooth to the touch is what I like to do. You can do this with hand sanding or a Dremel. I've found it just doesn't work near as well as doing this, and we're gonna do it at this stage so that way you don't have anything blocking it once we add the back piece and the details. Next we're gonna do the flare or bill, whatever it's called on the template, and that's just simply gonna have the interior circle cut at an outward 45-degree angle, and it's simply going to get glued on to the dome like so. Once it's on, give it a little squeeze, make sure everything is all good and ready, give it a test fit. It's at this point, you should probably find out if it's too big or too small. I scaled it for a size 22 to 24 inch head, if that helps at this point. Next, we're going to attach the fin. The fin is a little tricky. It depends on if you are okay at sanding or not. I found it's best to sand. I have also cut the edges with a 45-degree outward cut, but that's neither here nor there. As long as you get the fin shape and you get the nice bevels on the side like here, you're good to go. Yeah, and if you've got glue stains, don't worry about them. You can sand those off by hand sanding them later. Next, we're gonna cover the ears. Those are these glorious pieces right here. So for this one, I cut my top piece, which has the interior cut out of 4mm, and I glued the back to another piece of 4mm, and I'm gonna use the now cut out one as my template. I'm going to attach it to another piece of 4, like so. Should look something like this. And then next we're gonna talk about the details. So for the details on this, once again, it's kind of like these ones. But what I did was I took the little like fork hinge thing and I ran a small wire through it to kind of look like a hinge. And then I snipped away the excess. I then made some little round pieces with a hole punch and glued that into the front end right here. And that just, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I'm just copying what I see. Next, there's these little like hinge pieces, I guess. I made them out of just some scrap pieces of 4 and whatever. For stuff like this, it's kind of hard to describe what I did necessarily, and more or less just kind of like, if you see it, make it look like that. So I cut notches in some circles, glued them onto the like rod that I did. And when it's done, it should look a little something like this. Again, I did some like scrap rectangles that I just glued onto the hinges at that point. Because again, I don't know what they're supposed to do. I don't know what they're like fully supposed to look like, but they kind of look like that. Once that's done, I did this little fused looking piece which goes in the top notch of the ear like so. I just took some acrylic rod that I had and I wrapped some 2mm HD foam around it to kind of look like a fuse, and then put that in there. I don't know what it's actually supposed to be. Again, it's just some generic sci-fi details. This underpiece right here, I didn't get a clip of me attaching it, but the edges are beveled at a 45-degree angle. They go on the bottom of the ear, and that little gap back here that you saw earlier is now filled in with that piece. And once you glue it in, it should look a little something like this. It's important to follow all of the like angle cuts in the template itself, or else this just won't go together properly. This is deceptively challenging to do by hand because just there's intricate angles everywhere on here, and it's it can just be a little tricky. So once you've got your ears glued, we're then gonna move on to attaching the whole back section onto the main dome of the helmet. Before you do that, go over your entire back piece. Should look something like this. There is one additional small triangle dowel around the circle. Once that is attached, then we're gonna move on to attaching the whole thing on to the dome. Before we can attach it to the dome, take that entire top of the back piece and give a nice bevel to the top where it looks like it attaches. This is just gonna make sure everything doesn't go on loosely. It's gonna go on and actually stay there because it's got like a flat surface to grip to. Once that's done, we're then gonna go into the vent covers right here. For these, I took a piece of plastic and then made a 2mm rim that just goes on top, cut out. It's in the template. You can do this with using like 4mm and a 2mm top coat, or you can do plastic and foam. Sky's the limit, really. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But once you've got all of that squared away, we're finally gonna attach the back plate to the dome. And this just simply goes on the edge of the flare on the back right there. Super simple, just follow the line. Take your time with it. Make sure that it gets on fully and firm, because if not, it'll fall off and that'll ruin everybody's day. It's not fun. And then one of the final parts is this detail that goes on the tail of the fin. I went ahead and added the 2mm details. I didn't show me cutting it out, but you just simply cut out those details and use super glue or contact cement to attach them. Bevel that top part at a 45-degree angle and it just attaches to the fin. Finally, you attach the mask. I didn't record myself attaching it to there, but it's really straightforward. It literally just flush mounts to the front of the dome, like so, and it fits really well. One thing you want to do before you actually get to the refining point is there is this cutout in the fin right here, and once again, we're gonna follow that same structure we did with the flares right here. You're literally gonna cut two sides of a rectangle, not the full thing, and then just push it in and glue it, because it does kind of dip in. So at this point, if you're not overly concerned about refining and whatever, you can go ahead and call this done. I like to refine to the point of like damn near perfection. Finally, if we're on to the refining section of the video, I took some quick seal and I went around the dome because it's not supposed to be overly sharp like two separate pieces were joined. It's supposed to kind of like flare out. So I used some quick seal silicone and the caulk smoother just to kind of ease that transition. If you've got seams on your dome, do that as well. But if not, you're almost ready to call it done. Refining stage is what is gonna make or break this. I very much like to sand until it is all one solid gray, as you'll see here in a hot sec. So take your time with refining. A lot of people, especially when it comes to the foam and 3D print argument, a lot of people say, you know, you can't get a perfect shape with foam. You can, you just have to spend some time sanding. Make sure you spend a lot of time refining, and that can be done hand sanding, belt sander, multi-tool, palm sander, whatever. Again, sky's the limit. Once you've got your silicone smoothed out, you're good and ready to call this done. Let it dry fully before you play with it, because if you touch it, it's gonna leave fingerprints and globs and whatever, and that's just not how you need it to be. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that this took so long to get out. I really wanted it to come out like within a week of Helldivers releasing, but you know, life. I really hope you enjoyed. I'm trying, once again, new formats for instructing on this, so feel free to leave suggestions for future builds. Leave a like if you did, it really helps out the page. I'm gonna try to stick to a schedule of having a tutorial and then a technique, a tutorial, a technique. Next part of this will be covering the paint and the visor in and of itself. There is a Patreon, yeah, I do have a Patreon. There is an Instagram, that's where I'm most active, and you can see everything that I make, not just the like once or twice I make something for you to make something.
Nice.
If there is any template on my website that you want to see covered that you don't see a tutorial for, let me know down in the comments. Suggest whatever you want. I think that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. Ryan, I couldn't find like the button switch to do the thumbnail thing, so you couldn't have fun making fun of me. Damn cheekbones. Cheekbones! Could you superimpose like one of the foam ones just so it looks... Yeah, but... Is this stupid? For democracy. Have a nice cup of liberty. Take a bath. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum. That's like ingrained in my head, by the way.